I wake up with a sense of quiet excitement. Today is my 30th birthday, a milestone I've been looking forward to. I've never been one for grand celebrations, but I hoped that this time would be different. I've been saving up for months just to make sure we could have a small dinner together, just the three of us, me, Mom, and Dad. I glance around my tiny room, the familiar faded wallpaper and the cluttered desk reminding me of how long I've been here, sacrificing dreams for stability. I can hear their voices downstairs, Mom's sharp tone and Dad's low grumbling. It's nothing unusual, but I can't help feeling a pang of sadness. Even on my birthday, the tension is ever present. Still, I push those feelings aside. I'm used to it. I've been the one holding this family together for as long as I can remember. When the bills piled up, it was my second job that covered them. When the debt collectors called, I was the one to negotiate and pay off the balances. It's exhausting, but it's what I do. I love them. As I make my way downstairs, the familiar smell of burnt toast greets me. I can't help but smile at Mom's predictably disastrous attempt at making breakfast. Dad barely looks up from his phone. I try to be cheerful, but their indifferent murmurs make me swallow my enthusiasm. Maybe they forgot. It wouldn't be the first time. I sit at the small kitchen table, feeling the ache in my chest intensify. I'm still trying to convince myself that it doesn't matter when Mom finally speaks. Her voice is cold, cutting through my thoughts like a knife. She says they need to talk. My heart sinks. Dad finally looks up, and I see something in his eyes, something I can't quite place, but it isn't love, or pride, or even basic kindness. Mom starts speaking, but the words blur together. I catch bits and pieces. Burden, dead weight, time to grow up, freeloading. I feel my pulse quicken, my hands starting to shake. I can't process what they're saying. It doesn't make sense. I've given everything to this family. My time, my money, my dreams. I hear the words, but my mind can't connect them to the reality I know. When Mom tells me to pack my things and leave, I stare at her, mouth dry, hoping it's a cruel joke. Dad just nods in agreement. They're serious. They actually want me gone. My chest tightens, and I barely manage to whisper, asking why. Mom rolls her eyes, saying I'm just taking up space, that I'm almost 30 and still living under their roof. Dad mutters something about not raising a leech. My body moves on its own as I head back upstairs, my vision blurred by tears. I grab my worn duffel bag, stuffing it with clothes, my laptop, and a few keepsakes. On the dresser sits the cake topper I bought for myself, a small plastic figure of a girl holding balloons. I take it too. It feels like I'm moving through a nightmare. When I go back downstairs, they don't look at me. I stand there waiting for a word, an apology, anything to make it better. But there's nothing. As I step outside, the weight of everything crashes down on me. I'm alone. I'm homeless. I've lost the people I thought I'd always have. Tears spill down my cheeks, and I clutch the cake topper in my hand, knowing it's the only piece of my birthday that's mine. I force myself to keep moving down the street and away from the house that never really felt like home. The air outside is biting, and I barely feel it. My mind races through the moments that just passed, like a reel stuck on loop. How did it come to this? How did my life unravel so suddenly? I find myself wandering aimlessly through the neighborhood, clutching the duffel bag like it's my last connection to something familiar. I walk for hours, numb to the world around me. Eventually, I reach a small park where I used to play as a kid. I sink onto a bench, trying to catch my breath. The city noises fade into the background, and all that's left is a hollow ache in my chest. I've spent so long being the one who fixes things. I don't know how to fix this. A memory flashes through my mind. Mom's face when I got my first paycheck. She was so proud, telling me how responsible I was for helping with the bills. I thought that meant I mattered to them. I thought they needed me. Turns out they just needed my money. Hours blur together, and night falls. My phone buzzes, messages from friends asking how my birthday is going. I can't bring myself to answer. Shame burns through me, and I wonder how to explain that I'm suddenly homeless. A part of me wants to disappear. Another part wants to scream at the world for being so unfair. I force myself to get up, to find shelter before the night gets colder. I make my way to a small motel a few blocks away. The receptionist gives me a strange look, but I hand over enough cash for one night. As I collapse onto the stiff mattress, I finally let the tears flow. I'm angry, but mostly I'm heartbroken. I've lost the only family I've ever known. In the darkness, I start thinking about everything I did for them. All the late nights working overtime, the loans I co-signed, the credit cards I opened in my name to keep the electricity on. I've never counted the cost before. I never wanted to. But now I can't stop. I pull out my phone and start scrolling through my banking app, adding up transactions, trying to see just how much of my life I've poured into that house. The numbers make my head spin. It's around midnight when something inside me shifts. I feel a spark of defiance. They took everything I gave them for granted. They didn't just take my money. They took my love and twisted it into something ugly. If they think they can throw me away so easily, then they don't deserve what I've built for them. I won't be their safety net anymore. The next morning, I wake up feeling strangely lighter. As I sit on the edge of the lumpy motel bed, I know I can't just keep moving aimlessly. If I'm going to survive this, I need to reclaim my life. I pick up my phone and start making a plan. First, I check my accounts, canceling any automatic payments linked to my parents' house. It's a bittersweet feeling, like cutting the last strings of an old life. After securing my finances, I decide it's time to speak up. I open my social media and draft a post. It's raw and honest. I explain what happened, how I was thrown out on my birthday, despite being the one to support them financially for years. I include screenshots of payments I made, proof that the bills were in my name. I'm scared, but I hit post anyway. The response is overwhelming. Friends I haven't spoken to in years reach out with shock and support. Some even offer places to stay. I feel a small glimmer of hope. My parents, on the other hand, don't take it well. Mom calls furious, accusing me of airing private family matters online. She threatens to tell everyone I'm lying. I don't argue. I just hang up. They've controlled my life long enough. A few hours later, I get a message from one of Mom's friends, someone I always thought disliked me. She tells me that she had no idea what I was going through and that she's sorry. Others start commenting, sharing their own stories of feeling used by people they loved. I feel less alone. I check my phone constantly, half expecting more hate, but the positivity outweighs the negativity. I even get a message from a lawyer who saw my post, offering a free consultation. I take it. When I meet with her, she listens carefully as I explain the situation. She tells me that my parents trying to sue me is a scare tactic. They don't have a case. Relief washes over me. But the nightmare isn't over. A week later, I'm served with papers. My parents are suing me for financial abuse, claiming I manipulated them into paying bills for me. My hands shake as I hold the documents. I call the lawyer immediately, and she reassures me that we'll fight this. Anger burns through my fear. How could they twist things so cruelly? I spend the next few days gathering evidence, bank statements, text messages, old photos of me, working 2 jobs while my parents stayed home. The lawyer helps organize it all, and I'm amazed at how much I've actually done for them. Seeing it all laid out, I feel validated for the first time. I'm not the problem, they are. The court date arrives faster than I expected. Walking into the courtroom, I feel small and terrified, but the lawyer stays by my side. My parents glare at me from across the room, looking betrayed. The judge asks for opening statements, and when my lawyer begins, she paints a clear picture of the years of financial support I provided, the sacrifices I made. When it's my turn to speak, I take a deep breath and look straight ahead. I tell the truth. How I worked tirelessly to keep the house running. How every decision I made was for their comfort. My parents' lawyer tries to paint me as a manipulative daughter who forced her parents into debt. But the judge isn't convinced. The receipts, the statements, and my testimony make it clear that I wasn't the one exploiting anyone. When the verdict comes, I can barely process it. The judge dismisses their claim and orders them to cover my legal fees. I leave the courtroom exhausted but victorious. When I step outside, the sun feels warmer than before. I check my phone and see messages from friends congratulating me. I feel a sense of triumph, not just because I won, but because I finally stood up for myself. I walk back to the motel, knowing that my life is mine again, and that's worth everything. In the days following the court victory, I feel like I'm slowly reclaiming pieces of myself that I lost over the years. I spend time reflecting on what happened, trying to understand how I let myself be used for so long. I know it wasn't entirely my fault. I was raised to believe that family always comes first, even if it means sacrificing your own well-being. One evening, while scrolling through messages from friends who supported me, I come across a message from my cousin Lydia. She says she's proud of me for standing up for myself, and that she had always wondered why I didn't leave sooner. Her words stick with me, making me realize that maybe other people saw the truth before I did. It hurts to think about it that way, but it's also empowering. Determined not to fall back into old patterns, I start making plans. I search for jobs online, applying to positions that match my skills rather than just any work I can get. I've spent so long putting everyone else's needs first that I almost forgot what it feels like to make decisions just for me. One afternoon, I'm walking through the park when I see Mom on a bench, staring at her phone. Panic floods my chest, but I force myself to breathe. I consider turning around, but something inside me pushes me forward. I can't keep running from them. As I approach, she looks up, eyes widening. For a moment, we just stare at each other, the weight of everything between us, making it hard to speak. Finally, she mutters a quiet, "Hi." I nod, unsure of what to say. The silence stretches on, awkward and heavy. She starts talking, mostly about how hard things have been since the court case, how people are judging them. It's the same song, different verse, always about how things affect them. I wait for her to ask how I'm doing, but the question never comes. When she finally pauses, I tell her I'm doing better now. I don't explain why. I don't owe her that. Before leaving, I look at her one more time, trying to find a trace of the mother I once knew. But all I see is someone who never thought I'd have the strength to walk away. I realize that I've been chasing a version of love that was never real. As I walk away, I feel lighter, as if shedding the guilt I've carried for years. That night, I sit in my motel room and make a list of what I want moving forward. An apartment of my own, a stable job, friends who value me, and, most importantly, peace. I deserve that much. Over the next few weeks, I take small steps toward rebuilding my life. I secure a part-time job at a bookstore, something quiet and comforting. The owner, an older woman named Nancy, treats me kindly, and for once I feel appreciated just for being myself. On a slow afternoon, Nancy tells me about a support group for people who have left toxic family situations. I hesitate, unsure if I'm ready to talk to strangers about something so personal. But curiosity wins, and the next evening I find myself in a small community center room filled with people who look just as worn down as I feel. It's the first step toward healing through my own words. As I sit in the quiet of my apartment, typing away on my laptop, I realize that breaking free wasn't just about leaving my parents. It was about finding my voice, my purpose. Life is still messy and unpredictable, but it's mine, and that's enough.